The other issue is when and how IDF troops could withdraw from Gaza. Israel has reportedly handed over new maps depicting a partial IDF withdrawal after pressure from the United States. And at the heart of the matter is the Morag corridor in southern Gaza. And Nicole will tell us about the importance of that now. Nicole.
Yes, I mean, we've all heard about the Morag corridor, not until recently, it seems. In fact, the Morag corridor was only created and actually captured by the IDF in April of this year. So why is it such a sticking point right now? That's what many people are asking. And let's see exactly where the Morag corridor is. If you take a look at the map of Gaza, it actually splits right between Khan Yunis and Rafah. And the importance of this, according to the IDF right now, is stating that all of those citizens just south of the Morag corridor, this will be Rafah, which Defense Minister Israel Katz is stating this will be the new humanitarian city where the GHF will continue to operate. But according to the reports that we're hearing as far as the outlines of this deal, any area that the IDF no longer controls are areas that the GHF will no longer operate as well. And so that means anywhere north of the Morag corridor, this will be all delivering aid by different UN-backed mechanisms. But everything south, that's why it's crucial, Israel is stating right now, to keep that Morag corridor as another buffer zone, similar to the Philadelphia corridor, which runs right between Egypt and Gaza. The reason that the IDF wants to keep the Philadelphia corridor in the first place is to make sure there's no underground smuggling, allowing Hamas to rearm themselves with weapons from Egypt. But this Morag corridor adds another layer of that buffer zone. In fact, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has even called it a Philadelphia 2, stating that, once again, we're going to control not only above ground, but below ground to make sure that along this Morag corridor, no weapons are going to be allowed. So this is why it's such a key aspect right now. However, many people are stating that this is another line that the IDF should not continue to hold its fighting around, because if this is what it's going to take to collapse some sort of a deal, some of the opponents to something like this are stating it's not worth it. But according to the IDF, they say that this is crucial in order to maintaining some of the security if this deal does go forward.
All right, Nicole, thank you very much. So, Jonathan, should the IDF hold on to the Morag corridor if it is a deal breaker?
I think Nicole explained the importance very well, and I would only add that we're talking about shaping the future of the Gaza Strip and really either availing Israel to kind of detach between or to distinguish between Hamas and the civilian population. The way that Israel can do that is by actually creating or dissecting the Gaza Strip into two, the southern part, west or south of the Morag corridor that we can see on the map, would be controlled by Israel, and humanitarian aid would be provided there, not through the hands of Hamas and the UN, but through the GHF and controlled by Israel. And the northern part would be an area that Hamas would probably still control, where they will still be fighting. That's why the Morag corridor is so important, and I think it is a valuable thing to really insist on, because without that, I struggle to see how Israel can shape the day after in Gaza. And probably Israel will have to go in and take it again after 60 days of fighting. Another point worth making is, of course, Hamas is absolutely adamant that there will be a presidential guarantee that Israel won't go back to fighting after 60 days. And that's also an important part of the picture.
Asher, your thoughts on those two issues, on the Morag corridor and whether that should be a deal breaker for Israel, and, of course, on the reports that President Trump has said he will not let Israel resume fighting in Gaza, even if Hamas is rebuilding.
Well, Laura, I think Jonathan explained the issue very well. And I think that the Israeli politicians that are minimizing the importance of the Morag corridor are failing to understand the true strategic importance. Everybody's talking about the day after in Gaza, a day after which Hamas no longer controls the territory. And between the Morag corridor and the Philadelphia corridor, we are seeing the beginning of the creation of that, where Hamas is no longer dominant, where the IDF, where local actors are the dominant actors, where there is a vision of a different reality. And of course, if we give up the Morag corridor, that will all go down the drain, and there will be no day after. And to go to, you interviewed Reverend Johnny Moore, who's a real hero, and on our Mideast Horizons podcast, he talked about his experience in helping formulate the Abraham Accords, his recent meeting with the president of Syria to see how we could potentially move forward with peace with Syria. And now when he's bringing millions of meals for the first time to Gazans without them reaching Hamas, he's facing this outrageous campaign from Hamas on the one hand, the UN, Amnesty, other international NGOs on the other end that are trying to undermine his efforts to prevent Hamas from continuing to control the Strip. I think that's what's critical in the conversation between Israel and the United States, between President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu. I think both sides are committed to a future without Hamas, but the crucial point, the crux of the matter, is that it's a future not only in which Hamas is not the formal power or the formal government, but which Hamas is no longer the de facto power on the ground. Because if Hamas remains de facto power on the ground, then again, the next terror attack, the next war is only a matter of time, and everything that's been accomplished is only going to lead to new devastation and new fighting and new geopolitical tensions in the near future.
Asher, thank you very much indeed. Asher Fredman there from the Misgav Institute. Nicole.
Thank you for having me.
I will add something very quickly. Some of the reported Hamas demands is they want to see the IDF withdraw to the similar areas that they withdrew to during the previous deal. And that means they left the Netzarim corridor, which is in the northern part of the Gaza Strip. But when they left the Netzarim corridor, we saw some 800,000 Palestinians return to the north, which out any checking, and that also included an estimated 10,000 Hamas terrorists. And so that also shows from a prime example of what happens when the IDF does remove themselves from some of these corridors and these zones. You see these Hamas terrorists come right back in.
All right. Thanks, Nicole. Well, when